Have you ever found yourself standing right in the middle of a crowded, noisy room and suddenly felt like you were watching the world from behind a thick pane of glass? Everyone around you is laughing, talking, and blending into the social rhythm with perfect ease. But you feel an invisible, heavy wall separating your mind from all of their noise. People might call you distant, aloof, or even a little bit weird for this detachment. But what if this isn't a flaw or a glitch in your social skills at all? What if the things that make you feel like you don't belong here are actually the exact signs that you belong to the rarest 1% of personalities? Psychology reveals that certain strange, everyday habits are not random accidents of your behavior. They are the quiet, protective signatures of a highly complex and deeply perceptive mind. Let's explore the first strange habit: the sudden, unexplained need to completely disappear. You could be having a perfectly pleasant, normal evening with people you actually care about. And then, out of nowhere, your internal social battery just completely shuts down to zero. You leave without a word. You pull the ghosting protocol and vanish from the crowd. You retreat into your dark, quiet sanctuary simply because your mind needs space to breathe. To the outside world, this looks like isolation, but inside, your brain is performing a crucial function. Psychologists who study sensory processing note that most people have a natural filter for their environment. They can walk through a noisy room and only hear the conversations they choose to engage in. But if you belong to this rare 1%, you don't have that filter. Instead, imagine your mind is equipped with invisible cables, plugging into every single person around you. You don't just hear them. You absorb their anxiety, their unspoken tension, and their hidden moods. In a matter of hours, you are carrying the emotional weight of an entire room. So when you suddenly disappear, it is not an act of arrogance or coldness. It is an emergency system reboot, a desperate need to unplug those cables and find silence. You are not running away from people. You are protecting the rest of your humanity. This brings us to the second strange habit, one that people often mistake for being hopelessly boring. It is the obsessive need to repeat the exact same small routines every single day, eating the exact same breakfast for months, wearing the exact same type of clothes, or looping one song. Others might look at this and wonder why you refuse to step out of your comfort zone. But cognitive psychology, specifically the study of decision fatigue, tells a completely different story. Every single day, your brain wakes up with a strictly limited amount of decision-making energy. Every small choice you make, from what to wear to what to eat, drains this battery. Most people spend a massive amount of this mental energy on these trivial, everyday choices. But your mind is wired differently. It is constantly processing deep, complex, and sometimes exhausting thoughts. By automating your physical routines, you are creating a protective barrier against decision fatigue. What looks like a hopelessly boring and repetitive life to the outside world is actually a highly intelligent cognitive architecture designed to keep your inner world safe. You are deliberately automating the mundane, simply to preserve your mental energy for the profound. This brilliant survival mechanism naturally leads us into the third undeniable sign of the rarest personalities: the echo chamber. Do you ever find yourself having intense, vivid conversations completely out loud, or whispering your deepest thoughts to an empty room, making facial expressions to absolutely no one? You might catch someone staring at you on the street, making you feel instantly embarrassed or crazy. Society tells us that talking to yourself is a sign that you are losing your grip on reality. But once again, cognitive psychology reveals this as a highly advanced trait known as metacognition. It is the rare ability to actively observe, analyze, and converse with your own thoughts. When you speak your thoughts out loud, you are not hallucinating. You are externalizing your inner world. Your mind processes such a massive, chaotic volume of information that it sometimes overflows. Speaking out loud acts as an anchor. It helps you pull a single, clear thought out of the storm. It allows you to examine your own mind from the outside, like a scientist observing a complex phenomenon. So the next time someone catches you whispering to yourself in an empty room, remember that you are simply a highly intelligent mind, having a conversation with its only equal. This profound ability to observe and analyze naturally flows into the fourth strange habit, the empath's paradox. You are the ultimate confidant, the unpaid therapist for everyone in your life. People are naturally drawn to your calm energy. They pour their heaviest secrets into your hands. You can read their subtle emotions, understand their hidden trauma, and offer them the exact words they need. But the moment someone tries to turn the focus onto you, the moment they try to understand you, you immediately put up a flawless, impenetrable wall. You smile, deflect, and push them away. You wear a protective mask, carefully designed to make sure no one ever sees you bleed. You are perfectly comfortable navigating the dark ruins of other people's minds. But you are absolutely terrified of letting anyone take a single step inside of yours. You become the ultimate safe haven for everyone else, simply because you listen without judgment. You take their heavy, chaotic emotions, process them internally, and hand them back peace. But when you are the one who is hurting, you fall completely and utterly silent. You will suffer through your darkest days alone, refusing to reach out for help. Psychologists often link this extreme hyper-independence to early childhood emotional dynamics or attachment styles. Perhaps you learned early on that your feelings were too much, or that needing help was unsafe. So you adapted. You became the strong one, the caretaker, the person who never needs anything. In Jungian psychology, this becomes your dominant persona, the flawless, protective mask of the healer. It is a beautiful and noble mask. It brings genuine light and comfort to the people you love. But wearing it constantly comes at a devastating, invisible cost to your own emotional energy. You essentially hold the umbrella for the entire world, but let yourself stand freezing in the rain. This deep, unexpressed emotional exhaustion doesn't just disappear. It gets pushed down into the subconscious, which perfectly explains the fifth and perhaps most intense habit of this rare personality type: the shadow's playground, the sudden, overwhelming wave of absolute emptiness when you have no one left to help. When the room goes quiet and there are no more problems to solve, you don't feel peace. Instead, you feel a crushing weight, a sense that you are floating untethered in the dark. People might mistake this sudden crash for a depressive episode, but it is something entirely different. Carl Jung taught that our shadow contains everything we have suppressed in order to be loved. For this rare personality, the shadow holds your unexpressed anger, your boundaries, and your unmet needs. Because you spend your life being the selfless anchor for everyone else's storms. Your own basic human needs are pushed so deep into the dark that they become strangers. So when you finally shut down, it is your shadow rising, desperately demanding to be felt. This fifth strange habit, this intense, sudden withdrawal into absolute nothingness, is not a failure. It is a profound, necessary period of psychological incubation. Your mind is forcing a reset. You are not broken. Your subconscious is simply forcing you to finally put down the umbrella. It is forcing you to sit in the uncomfortable silence and tend to your own wounds. Those who do not understand will urge you to snap out of it, to just go outside. They want the healer back. They want the version of you that is useful to them. But you instinctively know that you must stay in the shadows until the healing is complete. When you step back and look at these 5 strange habits together, something fascinating emerges. They are not random quirks. They form a perfect, interconnected ecosystem of the mind. The sudden need to disappear from the crowd creates the space required for routine. That routine preserves the mental energy you need for deep inner dialogue and profound empathy. And that boundless empathy drains you until the shadow forces you into isolation to recover. This is not a cycle of dysfunction. It is a cycle of deep psychological evolution. The pioneering psychologist Carl Jung called this precise, lifelong, and often painful process: individuation. It is the incredibly rare journey of slowly stripping away everything that you are not, until you finally uncover the quiet, indestructible, and authentic core of who you truly are. The truth is, the vast majority of people will never even begin this difficult journey. They stay perfectly comfortable living entirely on the surface, never questioning the masks they wear. But if you have the rarest personality type, your mind simply refuses to stay shallow. It violently pulls you into the deep waters, forcing you into a cocoon of isolation. From the inside, that isolation feels incredibly dark, terrifying, and profoundly lonely to endure. But biologically and psychologically, the dark chrysalis is exactly where the greatest transformation occurs. While you are undergoing this intense internal processing, the rest of the world is moving fast. People around you are hitting standard societal milestones, getting promoted, and rushing confidently forward. Because of this contrast, you might struggle with a deep, persistent feeling of falling behind. The ticking clock of society can feel absolutely deafening to someone who requires so much isolation. But psychological observation shows that people with this rare cognitive depth are often late bloomers. Think of it like this: A shallow weed can sprout from the dirt in mere days, but a massive, ancient oak tree spends years growing its roots deep into the dark earth, long before it ever shows its true height to the surface world. You are the oak. Your strange habits and your constant need for withdrawal are simply your roots pushing deep. You are actively building a level of cognitive and emotional resilience that most will never possess. It simply takes much longer to construct a complex mental cathedral than to build a wooden hut. So you must forgive yourself for not operating on society's standard rush timeline. You are not broken and you are not behind. You are just incubating something profound. And when the integration is finally complete, you emerge from the shadow with quiet, unshakable power. Which leads us to the final unspoken truth about the burden of being the 1%. The final unspoken truth about belonging to this rare 1% is the burden of vision. Psychologists sometimes refer to this heightened pattern recognition as a form of cognitive hypervigilance. You naturally see how things will unfold long before anyone else in the room does. You can predict the end of a relationship or the collapse of a situation from a single sentence. While others are caught off guard by the storm, you have already built a shelter. People might call you a pessimist, an overthinker, or say you are simply lucky. But it isn't luck. It is your brain's relentless ability to connect seemingly invisible dots. However, this profound level of perception comes with a highly isolating side effect. It makes superficial interactions and everyday small talk feel almost painfully hollow. When someone speaks to you in anger, you don't just hear their words. You see the wounded child inside them. You see the exact insecurities and fears driving their harsh behavior. Living with this kind of psychological X-ray vision is beautiful, but exhausting. It is the exact reason why your social battery drains so rapidly. You are carrying the emotional data of everyone you meet, whether you want to or not. You cannot simply turn off a mind that is designed to see everything. This profound clarity often leads to a psychological phenomenon known as the Cassandra complex. In mythology, Cassandra was cursed to see the future, but doomed to never be believed. You try to warn the people you love about the storm you clearly see approaching. But because they cannot see the invisible patterns, they dismiss your warnings as mere anxiety. And when the storm finally hits, you do not boast. You simply help them rebuild. Living through this cycle forces your brain to develop a hypersensitive authenticity filter. You become completely allergic to fake personas, hidden agendas, and superficial social games. When someone approaches you with a manufactured smile, your nervous system immediately detects the dissonance. You can physically feel the exhausting friction between who they are and who they pretend to be. So you quietly step back. You smile politely, but you firmly close the door. In pop psychology, this is often dramatically referred to as the infamous door slam. Others may view this as you being arrogant, impossibly picky, or brutally cold. It is simply a matter of neurological preservation. Your mind cannot afford the energy. You choose a very small, deeply authentic circle because anything less feels like cognitive static. You would rather sit in complete silence than participate in a loud, inauthentic performance. When you finally clear away the noise and the fake personas, what are you left with? Most people would look at your small circle and your quiet weekends and see emptiness. For the rarest 1%, this emptiness is actually a vast, limitless canvas. Psychology clearly distinguishes between loneliness, which slowly drains you, and intentional solitude, which restores you. Because you don't waste energy on superficial games, you possess a terrifying capacity for hyperfocus. When you find a genuine passion, a project, or a purpose, you don't just engage with it, you merge with it completely. You enter what cognitive psychologists call the ultimate flow state. And this intense, uncompromising, all-or-nothing energy perfectly translates into how you handle human connection. When your hypersensitive authenticity filter finally lets someone through the gates, the result is profound. You simply do not know how to love casually. You don't do half-hearted temporary friendships. When you let someone into your inner mindscape, you offer them absolute loyalty and terrifying depth. While the rest of the world is perfectly content splashing in the shallow end of relationships, you are only interested in diving into the absolute unexplored depths of the emotional ocean. This extreme intensity can be highly intimidating to those who only know how to swim on the surface. But you would rather have one connection that touches your soul than 100 that barely touch your skin. As you dive deeper into this emotional ocean, you inevitably encounter a strange psychological side effect. It is a profound sense of detachment, known in psychology as hyper-reflexivity or the observer effect. Because your mind is constantly analyzing, categorizing, and interpreting everything around you in real time, you often find yourself feeling like a silent spectator sitting in the audience of your own life. You watch your own interactions, your own conversations, and even your own emotions play out on a screen. Even when you are standing right in the middle of a crowded room, smiling and talking, a part of your consciousness is floating above, quietly analyzing the social dynamics from afar. This extreme self-awareness is a brilliant tool for survival, offering you unmatched psychological insight. You can take a painful memory, hold it up to the light, and dissect it completely objectively. But this gift of absolute objectivity comes with a hidden, somewhat melancholic price tag. Sometimes, when you are experiencing a moment of pure, spontaneous joy or deep human connection, your analytical mind accidentally steps in, putting that joy under a microscope until it loses its warmth. You analyze the happiness so deeply that you accidentally pull yourself out of the present moment. The barrier between living the experience and observing the experience becomes a glowing, untouchable screen. The ultimate challenge for the rarest 1% is learning how to step back through that screen. When you finally step through that screen and choose to fully participate in your own life, you realize something completely unexpected about your true place in the world. You no longer feel the exhausting, desperate need to blend in with the majority. And in a beautiful twist of psychological irony, the more you stop trying to fit in, the more people are inexplicably drawn to your quiet, deeply grounded energy. Most of society operates like a frantic spotlight, constantly moving and seeking external validation from others. But your newly integrated mind operates exactly like a solitary lighthouse on a dark, rugged cliff. You do not chase people. You do not beg to be seen or understood. You simply stand incredibly firm in your own truth, radiating a steady, unwavering light. By doing so, you naturally guide those who are lost in their own emotional storms. But you are no longer the exhausted empath holding the umbrella in the freezing rain. You no longer absorb their pain as your own. You allow them to face their own weather. Instead, your integrated shadow steps forward, acting as a powerful, silent guardian of your mental energy. It grants you the profound, terrifying ability to say a complete and unapologetic no. To the outside world, this new boundary might look arrogant, but to you, it is freedom. With this newfound freedom, something remarkable happens when you step back into the chaotic world. Those invisible sensory cables that used to drain your energy, they simply bounce off your boundaries. You can finally exist in the middle of a noisy crowd without being consumed by it. This is the hidden advantage of the late bloomer, the power of patient, invisible growth. While society exhausted itself rushing blindly forward on the treadmill of external validation, you were quietly constructing an indestructible architecture of the mind, built to last a lifetime. Now, when someone approaches you in pain, you no longer act as their desperate savior. Instead of absorbing their storm, your mind acts as a perfectly still, reflective lake. You offer them the silent, grounded presence they need to finally see their own reflection. You empower them to heal themselves, while your own energy remains completely untouched and whole. Looking back, every single strange habit you judged yourself for was a crucial survival tool. The sudden ghosting, the obsessive routines, the intense inner dialogue, the masks, and the isolation. They were never symptoms of a broken mind. They were the precise calibrations of a rare one. You have walked through the darkest parts of your own psychology and survived the depths. And now, after years of quiet incubation, you are finally ready to meet the dawn. You realize that you belong to the rarest 1% of personalities for a beautiful reason. Your mind was never meant to operate on the same loud, superficial frequencies as the majority. Every strange habit you have developed is simply a highly advanced mechanism for protecting your depth. Your sudden ghosting is a necessary reset. Your obsessive routines are a brilliant shield. Your intense inner dialogue shows profound self-awareness. Your social mass proves your deep, exhausting empathy, and your absolute withdrawal into the shadows is the incubator for your greatest psychological growth. You do not need to fix yourself, because there is absolutely nothing broken about you. You simply need to accept that a mind built for the deep ocean that cannot survive in shallow puddles. So the next time someone calls you weird, distant, or too intense, just smile quietly. Let them have the noise, the fast-paced treadmill, and the exhausting superficial performances. You have an entire universe inside of your mind, and you finally hold the key. Embrace your quiet power, protect your inner sanctuary, and never apologize for being rare. Because the world desperately needs the profound light of the quiet ones who observe everything. This video is for reflection and reference only and does not replace professional psychological advice. If you are struggling, please reach out to someone you trust or a professional.